September 12th, 2018 work session of the Town Board to order. I'll let the minutes reflect that all board members are present. We have some distinguished guests that we'll get to in just a moment. I will ask that we have the August 22nd, 2018 minutes before us, and I would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussions on the minutes? Questions, comments, anything? Seeing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, monthly reports. Most of the monthly reports are in. The last one or two should be in by the end of the week. So thank you for our department heads for making that happen. We have no public hearings this evening. However, we do have a couple of distinguished guests. And at this point, I'd also like to indicate that Mark Valentine was going to be with us. He's got an illness in the family that he is taking care of, always family first. And so Mr. Costello got the pinch hit nod. So I would expect nothing but a home run.
And honored to be there.
And very good. And we've got a couple of representatives from RG&E. And Jim, if you wouldn't mind introducing, and then we'll jump right into some exciting work that they've got planned in Penfield.
Thank you, Tony. With us this evening, we have Mark Anderson and Chris Kuiper, sorry,
No worries.
from the RG&E, and they're here to give you an update as to what their proposal is regarding the relocation of an electric main line in the town of Penfield. And I'll let you get started right away.
Sure. Our best to do this. I'll go up there.
Okay, great. And welcome. Thank you for being here. As he's making his way up, we have had an opportunity to spend some time with representatives from RG&E, and they wanted to come in and make a broader presentation to the board so that you're aware. It's a project that's got, I believe, some very positive aspects, and they'll get into the details of that. And so please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So what we have is a reliability project. Much of what I'm about to go over is in the backwoods and subject to potential tree falls. So what we're doing with virtually 95 to 99% of this line is putting it underground. We're moving it off the golf course where it currently is now. And
Can you say where you are?
yes, not a problem. So this is Penfield Road. And so there's a daycare over here. We've got the post office. We already have existing underground in here. And that comes up, we cross over Panorama Trail. And we head up, in the woods, there's a dead end over here that we can jump on. So from the woods area in here, we're going to continue, and that's behind the golf course, through the woods and out to Sawmill Drive. And then that'll continue, and again, we're going to move everything from back here out to underground. So what it does for us is makes it more serviceable, and the cable that's in the ground already is a nitrogen-filled cable that has a lot of maintenance requirements to it. It's also at the end of its serviceable life. Mark, 60 years old?
Yes, 60.
So what we're trying to do is basically a system hardening, reliability, and replace some old assets that are in need of it. So from here we continue up Sawmill, and that goes out to 5 Mile Road. And then I think I'm going to say turn
Northward.
Goes north.
goes north
Up to
up to Wayland,
Yeah.
and then we stop just say 500 feet down Wayland. And then there's an overhead at, where are we going overhead in here, Mark?
We match right back up with the existing overhead,
Over
right,
across Wayland.
right by the quarry.
I mean, it's about a mile and a half, a couple miles long. And down Wayland, that's about 2,000 feet. Or, sorry, down Sawmill is about 2,000 feet. There's not a whole lot to say about it, other than, we're moving off the golf course and everything's going underground.
It's not a golf course.
Was it? I'm sorry, yeah.
It's referred to
Yeah.
as Shadow Pines.
Town property.
Shadow Pines.
That's
Moving off of
future
Shadow Pines.
development.
Can you tell us when you're actually going to start the work?
So we're working on an accelerated procurement process right now. It could be within a month that I would have purchase orders to be able to move. Now that's aggressive. That's not, I mean, I'm just trying to work on potentially being able to do something quicker. But what's more likely the case is next spring. We would like to do this job next year. What we're gonna have to do is come through and install the line, commission the line, and then we're gonna go back through and remove all of the old cable. So anything that's in there, we will have to dig that up and remove it.
But trees and so on like that, I mean, you're gonna be going to residential neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Yep.
How's that gonna impact it? Are they all aware? Can you mitigate it so it's not too dramatic that some people like their little hedgerows and the like?
Understood. And actually, I'm gonna let Mark speak to the tree sector, because he's been working with vegetative management, I believe even here in Penfield.
Yes, so we I met out in the field with representatives of the town, and we identified a method of not only taking out the existing assets, and a method which would minimize the amount of clearing to the extent feasible. If you can see on the overall lay, what we're doing is coming off of the existing trail. We're going to note how to get to the existing overhead poles and how to take them down. Any tree with a caliper over a foot, I believe we're going to mark them and then meet with representatives of the town before we cut anything of that size or larger down. Anything of a smaller size, we would be chipping or taking the logs off site.
Yeah, any vegetative management we're looking to do right now is essentially to remove already down trees, things that are kind of a nuisance to the construction
Well, you know,
process.
I can appreciate that in Shadow Pines, I worry about it when you go into the neighborhoods because
Yeah,
then.
I was gonna ask, are all the poles on the rear property line of Shadow Pines, or are they on neighbor yards?
Sawmill, no?
So the poles are actually within the property of the old Shadow Pines.
Okay.
Okay,
Now, granted, we will be reaching out to the property owners prior to performing this work, just to keep them informed. And also, we're cognizant of the fact that even though it may not physically be on the property, we want to make sure that anything we take down doesn't cause any undue distress.
Yeah, we'll have it's pretty common for us to issue a letter to all the residents along the path, as well as door hangers prior to when we're gonna be, a couple of weeks prior to when we're gonna be in front of their house. On the letter and the door hangers, there'll be a project phone number, and we check those daily. So if there's any concerns or questions, we can call those numbers, and the project team will personally take care of that. Besides the letter and the door hangers, my field crews, we have a field construction manager that represents RG&E, generally contract manager. They have cards, and if somebody asks them a specific question, they can hand out the cards. We ask that those folks don't try to elaborate on what exactly they're doing, just in case there's, we want to get into certain details with them.
So I think it's important to note, so I just want to take a step back. So if I get too far out of scope here, rein me in. But essentially from the east side of Panorama Trail up to Sawmill Drive, that's all wooded area through that area. Once they hit Sawmill Drive, they will be going right down through the pavement, right through the actual pavement,
Okay.
not through the yard,
Thank
but
you.
through the
Yeah.
pavement.
Oh, sorry for that
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah, I didn't catch
And then
that
when
either.
they hit
Whereas-
5 Mile Line Road,
Yeah.
they'll essentially, they're doing some gas work, so they'll be doing some similar type of activity there, and then along Whalen Road. So the actual impact to what I'll call existing residents will be, I don't want to downplay, the
Yeah.
fact that they're
But
going to
their
dig up the
property.
road, but it's not going to be a lot of digging up of their property.
It's gonna be
per se.
traffic, a
Yeah,
traffic
that's-
issue.
It'll be traffic management
Right.
and,
That's correct.
and consistent with what the discussions were that, they'll, again, residents will be notified, and when they're done at the end of the day, folks will have access to their driveways. So whether it's backfilled or a plate.
There'll always be access to driveways. We'll have road plate with us, so if anybody has to get in or out at any given time, it's something we've done all, our entire lives. It is important to note, I just want to throw it out there that everybody knows that we are paving curb to curb. for anywhere along our work area. We'll be paving curb, coming back to pave curb to curb. So depending on when we get started, we want to make sure that restoration requirements are there, and I would say that, it should be paved next year, as long as we meet the construction window. We'll let you know if anything changes, but
Right.
that is part of the restoration requirement.
So as far as impact to town infrastructure, you're gonna pretty much go down the length of Sawmill, down the center of Sawmill. It sounds as if you're gonna be off the road on 5 Mile and off the road on Wayland. Is that correct?
No, I think we're on the road.
No, we're on the road throughout.
Okay.
We have plans and profiles if you want to look at it.
Yeah, which can kind of,
Well, I'm just trying to figure out from a traffic and residential standpoint, what impact the residents are gonna have and what impact to town infrastructure there will be. So if you can't start now, you're gonna start next spring, what is the length of this project? How long is it going to be? Hours of operation from morning to afternoon? Certainly you've got, I don't know if you've done a traffic study or need to, but that's the main thoroughfare to the high school. So when you look at April, May, June, there's going to be significant traffic backed up along those roads. I don't know if that's going to impact your work schedule, so I'm just curious to know what planning you've done as far as impact to traffic or sort of the residents along Sawmill, as far as the condition of the road, the length of the project.
Yeah, traffic plans are kind of underway now. We haven't scoped those out for those areas. The only thing that I would do this year, if I was going to do anything, would be Sawmill, because it's off the beaten path and can be done with minimal disturbance. So then that, again, I told you it's an aggressive schedule. I'm not going to try to do something that is going to upset the neighborhood, because we take it personally in our projects group that you guys are our customers, and I truly mean that. It's not just lip service. So that, as far as traffic over there, we want to work with you guys to determine what you want us to do. We've done the middle. We do the middle of the city. Let's face it, construction is disruptive. We will have traffic control pattern. It's a moving process, so we're not going to block a whole street. We'll block, a few hundred feet, and it'll be of one lane where, we can try to direct traffic so that we always have 2 lanes of traffic at any given time. It would just be a little bit slowed down. If there's a period of time in the year that is detrimental to your schedules, that's something we would like to work with you on so that we can determine. The beauty of these projects is that we can put them in as convenient to the public. It's not a do it all now and we're done. We can phase this project so that it's less of an impact.
I think more importantly for the residents than the impact is what's the benefit to them.
Yep.
Because as you can imagine,
Oh, yeah.
when the lights go out, the first person to get a call is Supervisor LaFountain.
Yep.
Many folks think that we're responsible for the lines. We have pockets of neighborhoods, I'm sure you're more aware than even we
Sure.
are, of significant power outages over the course of a few years, frequent power outages.
Yep.
So what kind of, PR or communication plan is there going to be to residents to say, here's the work we're doing,
Yep.
and here's how it's going to benefit you?
Correct, and that'll go out with the letter that we issue to the general public. We could also issue something to your website if that's something you want to do. But this is.
I'm thinking of the people who are not affected by the construction,
Uh-huh.
but will benefit from the
Sure.
upgrade.
Sure.
Because we certainly have heard, when is it going to be underground?
Yep.
That we hear that quite a bit. So
Yeah.
that, I think, would be important for us to be able to
Sure.
capture and communicate that to people.
and in this case, that's essentially what we're seeking to accomplish. Taking an asset which has reached the end of its useful life, and upon reviewing the possibility of hardening the system and our current directive to seek to harden the system where possible, we decided that it's in the best interest of the consumer that we underground this circuit.
So how many customers would this affect in terms of their power, the benefit to it?
I would have to get back to you on that question.
Because I'd like to know that, just to say,
Sure.
this, I think would also help your company to be able to communicate that, we're going to be increasing the service or improving the service for how many thousand of Penfield residents and who they are, because I can imagine that the supervisor or one of us or several of us would get a call from someone on Hidden Meadow who says, my power has gone out 6 times in 3 months. This is going on. Is that going to help me at all? And I think it would help if we had that information to be able to say, yes, this is you're linked into this project.
Yeah.
Or you're not.
We can get you that information.
And just, again, back to timetable, I mean, is this a 2-month project, 5-month project? And what are the anticipated hours that you'll be working within the?
And the hours we have to discuss with you folks.
Okay.
You know, I think as a general rule, I mean, we work a 7 to 3:30 shift. But I mean, it depends on the municipality we work in and what you would like to see. Ideally, we'd get a good 8-hour shift in, but we understand what's going on.
Okay. So our, from a construction standpoint, 7 a.m. Is the start time for construction.
Could be.
Goes 7A to 7P, Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday, we do 8 to noon. So those are the hours that we currently have. If the hours for some reason need to be outside of those, Monday through Friday 7 to 7 or Saturday 8 to noon, then this board is the one that reviews and grants any exceptions or exemptions to that.
Okay, understood.
And I think Councilman Quinn had indicated that the 5 Mile Line corridor, school days. So if you think about 10 to 7 to about 7:45 to 8, that is bumper to bumper coming and going down that corridor, down that corridor. North to south, south to north, because it's the main entrance for the high school and the transfer of all students.
So it'd be better to do that in the summer.
And then the bus garage as well.
Yeah, and I would.
Summer would be better.
Yes.
Yeah, and I also.
I'm sorry.
The peak hour in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would also just suggest that you reach out and maybe have some form of on-site coordination with emergency services, because that's also sort of one of the main trunk lines for Penfield Fire. If they have to go north, or Penfield Ambulance as they head to the Four Corners, they don't usually utilize Baird Road. So I would just, if they have to move through there during peak hours and you're on the street, traffic's on the street, it'd probably be helpful for everyone if you had a half a mile heads up that was happening. So just something to keep in mind as you are on the Wayland 5 mile.
Understood.
Yeah, if you were to just, like I say,
Go there tomorrow morning.
Go to 6:45 to 7:45, and just stand at the end of Sawmill Drive. You'll get an appreciation of just that it just gets very congested.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Understood.
You are pretty Kansas right now, though.
and so as part of this project, are you able to move around? So in other words, if you were to start at the end of Sawmill and do Sawmill, for instance, then could you jump up and do the Wayland Road piece and then come back and connect? So you've got that flexibility.
We have a lot of flexibility on this project. Yeah,
Got it.
And I mean, that's why I was just going to try, if we can, I was going to try to knock a piece out this year.
Sure.
As long as it made sense.
Yeah,
And I'm not
absolutely.
going to do anything that doesn't make sense, and we'll work with you folks the whole way. Communication to me is very important.
And there's a benefit to finishing it sooner rather than later.
Yes,
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, I mean, this is being coupled with another the same project in East Rochester. This is Circuit 759, that was Circuit 740. We're doing both of them. It's all part of the same project. And we expect the whole project duration to be 1 year. Now that includes restoration. Because once we get it in there, we do have to come back and remove all the old infrastructure.
Sure. And I'd just like to point out to the board on our property, if you take a look, what they have done is they have cut in, they look like little fingers or legs that go in there. So instead of just doing a total clear cut, based on the walkthrough that they've done and some review that they've done, they'll go in and remove that infrastructure and minimize that impact, even though a lot of that might be on our property. They're also sensitive, and that was part of the discussion we had a few weeks ago, very sensitive to the property owners that abut that property, on Sawmill and Arrowhead and things like that. So right now they've been working very closely with Mark Valentine and Eric Tate, and that's who I would recommend that we keep them working with them too. And then we also invited Phyllis to be part of that, so that we are not going to do their communications, but we may, certainly help supplement some of that by putting things that they put out on our website and, keeping residents updated and things like that.
Your column.
Right, exactly.
And our fire marshal's office will probably help coordinate if need be on some of the
Emergency services. Yep, absolutely. Other questions, board?
Sounds good.
RG&E team, anything additional that you'd like to share with us that you think is appropriate?
I have one more question.
Absolutely.
It's just pertaining to, do you have any special requirements or something as far as permit submittals and of that nature? Anything special that we should know?
So on Sawmill is a town road. So Eric Tate, he can work with you. He's our director of public works, and the person that went on the hike, he and Joe Perkins went on the hike, if I'm not mistaken. So we can take care of our piece for the Sawmill Drive. I think you've indicated that you've reached out to county DOT for the 5 Mile Whalen Road, because both of those are in fact county roads.
Okay.
And then down from this area here, it's, it ends up being more notification, I think, to your customers than anything else, because I think everything else is what I'll call, in that wooded area and in that ravine and through that area.
Yeah, we'll send you guys a copy of the letters that do go out, so you can see, because once we get our contractors on board, we'll be able to discuss duration of work areas. As we said, it's going to be a moving operation. Hopefully, as soon as we're there, we're gone. The road work, it'll be, although it's slower than working off of road, we don't expect it to be a huge impact for a long period of time.
Well, I will say, if it's anything like what you're doing on 5 Mile Line Road with the gas main, I continue to be very impressed with how that project is going. How you leave the site at the end of the day, access for residents, backfilling and essentially right up to where your hole that you left off and you're picking up the next day is essentially backfilled and covered with straw and everything like that.
Right.
So, and then the traffic pattern, as you said, with the exception of some onesie-twosies where they just do some shutdowns to move equipment from one side of the road to the other, two-way traffic has been maintained very well. So I've received a lot of very positive comments about how that job has gone and how you maintain traffic on that leg, that north leg of 5 Mile Line Road, north of Whalen, isn't as busy as the south leg is. But I've had, and typically I hear more problems, and I will say that I've heard a lot of very positive comments about maintaining traffic, condition of the job, and how that's moving along. So that's.
Can't imagine how much we appreciate to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will be letting them know.
Yeah, please, I've been very, very impressed, and like I say, when our residents talk about it, then it's another very positive sign. So, okay.
Wonderful.
Great. Anything else, board? One last opportunity, anything else? I think we've identified Mark Valentine as the point person for correspondence, and then Mark will then ship things, so anything that you have, ship to Mark Valentine, and Mark will make sure that gets distributed appropriately, and then we can keep, whether it's the board or our website, anything like that, we can make sure we keep updated.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
great. Thanks for your time.
Thank you
Do
very much for your
appreciate it.
time.
Thank you for coming in. And
Thank you for the
be
hospitality.
thankful that you're not taking care of the utilities in the Carolinas here over the next couple of days.
You never know.
Some of their crews may be.
And maybe some of your crews are.
Yeah, you
so
never know.
That's a good point. That's a good
We
point.
do have line crews that are headed down there already.
Is that right?
So some of our projects are already shutting down.
Wow, wow. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Okay?
Thank you
great.
very much.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you for
I
the
did bring cards.
communications.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will now move to,
He hired you.
we'll pass him the collection of the cards. Here we go. No,
The other way?
is that Chris?
This is Mark.
Yeah, come on, Mark's gotta come this way. Chris goes that way. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks again. Appreciate it. And we're okay to keep these maps that are hanging up and everything like that? Outstanding. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to action items. We have Mr. Renner, fresh back from vacation, and batteries recharged and ready to roll. The RFP, proposed or draft RFP for website review, design, and development. We sent that out, I think, here about the middle part of August. August, I think.
17th of September.
September. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, anyways, we've had a chance to at least take a look at it, go through it, go over it, and the thing that I'll bring to your attention is on page 7, the timeline. Obviously, based on the discussion tonight, that will have, some possible impact on that timeline. But I guess I would open it up. Dave, would you like to offer up any initial comments or anything in addition to what the board's already taken a look at before I open it up for any questions, comments for the board?
No, I think what we've sent out to you is a consolidation of what we have reviewed to the needs of our 4 particular sites that we currently are proposing to address. And nothing new since the document's been sent out.
Okay. Board, questions, comments, concerns, more of this, less of that?
I'm more concerned just what the timeline will be and just what we can expect,
Within the document, as Tony has said, on page 7, the timeline is, it's pretty aggressive in the aspect of what we're looking at for year's end. To get this through, we're juggling some meetings and the limitation of meetings throughout the months and the holidays. Ultimately, we're looking at a theoretic completion date of October 1, 2019 to get through that process. That's to do a full site review of services for the 4 websites, as well as to do interviews with each of the departments through that process. And then to start the actual build and the mechanics of it. That date, I will say, is one we would push for, but it is likely that that will probably get pushed out, just given the limitation we have of some of the board meetings here going forward, that we're pushing out, even getting this RFP out due to that. And then by the time we get the information back, do a review of the vendors who do submit, and then get through that process and narrow that down. That gets pushed out to November and December.
We, as you know, this is being recorded on television, and it seems a little quiet about what this is actually for. Can you just explain the reason why we're doing what
Sure. So
you're proposing?
Penfield.org, PenfieldTV.org, Penfield Rec, and PenfieldLibrary.org. All of those sites have, if you will, have served us well, but it's time to move forward with the next generation of technology and services that are available. And as part of the development of the existing site, we've recognized some areas of concern with third-party services from other vendors that the town utilizes, and this is a good opportunity to evaluate those third-party services and how we are rendering those through the website and how we can make those services and the existing information more customer-friendly.
Very good. That's good for the customer, good for the residents, better. Appreciate, they all like the website, I mean, you hear it all the time, but it's good to have some more clarity for the things that you're speaking of.
So I'll offer up, and I'll take it down to maybe another few notches than from where Dave is. If you think about it, we've had this in place, as Dave has indicated, for a number of years. And as you can imagine, when it was put in place, it was what I would call essentially $249 canned software package that essentially over the years we've kept running and expanded, and through a lot of hard work by a number of people, and currently Dave and his team, we've really stretched to the limits that software package, and it does probably more than what I think anybody ever imagined it would or could do. And we've been able to keep it running and be somewhat progressive, but as Dave says, it's the time is getting to the point that we need to bring it to the table and rework that and bring that up to some next generations for the future.
Correct.
Overall. So.
Correct. As part of this, we're addressing tablets, phones, the use of the other devices,
Right.
as well as just the days of RSS and XML data feeds is all changed, and there are new ways of presenting data. One of the strongholds that we have for a goal in this is single key entry. As you recognize, we do have 4 sites, and if something needs to be transferred to those other sites for closings or important announcements, those all have to be rekeyed. It's yet another data system. So we're trying to find the efficiencies internal, as well as improving upon its ability to be more timely to the external resident and services.
And ability to be more interactive, I would imagine.
Interactivity is very important too. The Web 2.0, if you will, it's two-way communication. That aspect is that it will be a mobile device-friendly site. One of the questions I received from a staff member is, we're going to get an app out of this. And there's a potential opportunity for looking at apps, but with the fact of being mobile-friendly, that is not a direction that we are putting into this document at this time. Once we get through this phase, if we can clearly identify there is a reduction in third-party services, which is included in the document was provided to you. If we can reduce those numbers and get it under one hood, there may be opportunity to revisit that, but as long as we are fractured in the current format, that is not likely.
Dave, the only recommendation that I would add to the conversation, and I know you probably already know this, is there's a lot of people that think that they are website developers and webmasters and so forth. So I would not be surprised if you received a significant amount of proposals, and the value of those proposals could range from $17,000 to $380,000. I was associated with a RFP a couple years ago where the range was $24,000 to $550,000. And so I would just strongly encourage you to not be afraid to interview who you think might be the legitimate final 3, and just make sure that you're getting what you think you're getting with a proposal, because people can wordsmith things pretty good, and then you sign the contract, and then they point to a certain sentence or a certain word saying, well, that wasn't a part of what you guys wanted, but for another $22,000 I can do it, and there you go. You start going down that road. So I think this is great. I think it's the right move moving forward, but when you get those proposals, I would just ask that you do your diligence, and I know you will because you're a very thorough guy, and maybe taking an extra step in interviewing people to make sure that the vendor that we choose or you recommend that we choose is somebody that you're 100% confident understands what we're asking them to do at a price that is of value to the town to do it at. So,
Yes, and I'm looking for the section in here, just looking for it for the wording, but for the qualifications, we have a section that's specific to the qualifications of a vendor, as well as the interview,
Page-
the consultant,
page 11.
and, yes, page 11, section 8 and 9, and 10, we'll get into that, but the consultant and presentations and interviews has been laid out.
okay, great.
That what the expectation is from that, as well as their qualifications if we are dealing with a firm and they are looking to farm out third-party
Right.
services, they
Right.
need to identify that
Yeah.
as part of this process. And as far as the budget goes, we've identified that we don't have a specific budget directly set for it, but we are looking at the value and the return of what they are proposing as a cost.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to tie a number to this because that will limit us in opportunity
Sure.
of learning.
Right,
So
absolutely.
we need to work within that and sort that out as we go through to ensure that we are getting the best for the dollars that we're going to spend. And that's ultimately is what we will come through when we have the final group, which is going to be made up of not just the PR team, the website team, but that's also looking at a couple other key department heads, supervisor, and a member of the board to potentially sit on those interviews to see. In preparation of this, we did go through and have some conversations with a number of vendors and allowed them to do some presentations because we wanted to get an understanding to what the next generation would look like in some of those services. And by doing that, that helped to scope this, not particular to any one vendor, but really gave us the education of what's the opportunities that are currently available to us.
Okay.
So next steps would be for the October 3rd meeting would be a resolution authorizing that we send this out, to vendors to respond back. Obviously, page 7 will have to be tightened up from a date standpoint because we were talking about proposals due no later than October 3rd, but that'll be a resolution authorizing that we go out for proposals. So that calendar will adjust accordingly, and we'll have a copy of this with any modifications, changes attached to the resolution.
Okay.
I move that we have the resolution prepared for the RFP for the website design and development consultant.
I'll second.
Okay, so we moved and seconded. Further discussion?
Just one quick question, because I'm looking at the timeline. What was the original turnaround time? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month?
So here's the timeline for you. The proposals are due back no later than October 26th. And during that time frame, we will conduct the interviews between candidates and town evaluation team on or about November 7th. The town board would make a decision for the selected firm at around the December 5th time frame. All candidates will be notified on or about December 14th, and that the project would be completed tentatively by October 1st, 2019.
And that's assuming an October 3rd issuance of the RFP?
That is correct.
Okay. 'Cause to Andy's point, just not only opening up and learning more about the scope when they respond, but an RFP of this, quality, you don't want to put 2 weeks on it or something. So I just wanted to make sure that we still had, especially heading into the holidays.
In speaking to other agencies that have gone through this process, the typical timeframe for responses from firms has been about 10 days.
Okay.
So they've effectively been able to respond. I think the due diligence falls to us to get through them in a timely manner and get through the weeds, if you will, and find out which ones are the ones we really want to call in for the interviews and the presentations.
Okay.
Okay.
And if we have to extend awarding said contract, I mean, that's within our power. This is just a tentative time frame going forward. We could push it out to January if we needed to.
Okay. great. Been moved, seconded, seeing no further discussion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried. David, thank you. Appreciate it. Let's get to the other side of the floor. The next item is a private storm pipe agreement, 88 Stoneledge Way. This, if you recall, this was tabled from our last meeting. This is the Blake Miller homestead at Windsor Ridge. And one of the things that we asked for is I believe that Linda asked to have PRC weigh in on this and provide some information, feedback. And I think, if I recall, we also talked about the notification of the neighbors and what have you. So, and Mr. Valentine?
Thank you, sir. So what had happened is Mr. Miller did go to his neighbors and talked about his proposal. As it turns out, and I did talk to him today, as it turns out, his neighbors are also possibly interested in doing the same thing now. Now, going back to your comment with the PRC's comment to you is that it fundamentally doesn't have a problem with them doing what they want to do, but the PRC would very much like to see what occurs with the hydrology of that area once the grass is in place for all the properties. So there's an ability to absorb some of the drainage instead of just letting it run the way it has been. And it may very well be that if all the neighbors are willing to chip in and get their parts done, it may not be any concern at all. But at this point in time, we would like to see some grass growing out there on all the properties. And I talked to Mr. Miller today. He requested that we table this for at least another meeting in order to get some more information from the neighbors as to what they really do want to do, and he's going to work on that
I'll
for
move
us.
that we table it.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
And Rob seconded. Any other comments, discussion, Jim, on that?
No, not this time.
Okay, then seeing no further discussion or comments, those in favor to hold this matter? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carries. That brings us to item C, which is license and hold harmless agreement at 86 Bainbridge Lane.
Yes.
And Mr.
It says Valentine, but actually, this is actually my project. I've been working on it for quite a while now with some of the engineers in the Marksville area. The family at 86 Bainbridge Lane had a swimming pool and a entertainment hut put in their backyard this summer. In doing so, we were concerned towards the end of the project that they may have encroached into the town easement. There's a drainage easement, which is quite extensive. As it turns out, the actual construction aspect of it, and the pool and the fencing, actually stayed on their property with outside the easement area, which was great. But I did happen to notice that they had to rerun a couple of roof leaders and downspout leaders to the creek to get around the pool. And when they did that, the leaders actually go into the easement area. I'm going to pass these around. You'll see two circles. That's where they are. There's no problem with them other than the fact that if we have to go in and clean that ditch, and they have gone in and actually cleaned it for us right now, but at some point in time, we're going to have to go back. If we go in there and hit one of those leaders or both of those leaders, that could go right back to their home. So I talked to them about the idea of signing a license and home harmless agreement. They were more than happy about it to do it. They also went out and had a new survey done just to ensure that it was just the leaders and nothing else within the easement area. So they've really done everything we've asked. They actually, as you see this, they've actually gone out and put riprap around the perimeter of the outfalls so that, number one, they can dissipate the energy going to our creek. And secondly, you can identify it if you're out there doing some work. So they've taken a lot of precautions to try and make sure that it's as safe as possible for us to be out on that site. So I'm requesting that you allow a license and hold harmless agreement to allow the leaders to stay in place.
And these are coming from roof or
Roof and
basement?
No, roof and downspout.
Roof and
They
downspout.
went straight through the pool area before.
Got it.
But they had to
And so
reroute them
and so they
around.
rounded in order to do that.
Yeah.
But it's all private,
It's all private stormwater.
just dumping into our easement.
Exactly.
All right, board questions, concerns? Okay. All right.
Second.
Been moved and seconded,
We'll do a
and
resolution.
you'll do a resolution for the October 3rd meeting for that, Mr. Costello. All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item, item D. This is the personal training gym, 1844 Penfield Road. We heard this at our last legislative session and in a public hearing. And this is at the Dawson property on Penfield Road.
I missed that public hearing, which was my first one ever, so I apologize for that, but I did get a chance to watch it.
really?
Yeah, I did watch it.
Wow.
And it seemed to be a pretty innocuous application. It's family oriented, it's appointment only, except for the time that they have their classes.
Right.
There's plenty of room on the site for them to do it, there's plenty of parking.
All
right, I move.
I second. Wonderful addition to Four Corners.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's been moved, seconded. We'll look at the normal items for approval in the Four Corners District, and Jim, you'll prepare a resolution for the board again on the 3rd of October. And if I recall correctly, they're going to use the existing sign and just go in with a banner on the existing sign.
One of the conditions will be that you approve that sign.
Great, okay. All right, very good. Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
The next item is live music and outdoor dining area at K2 Brewery, 1221 Empire Boulevard. So I believe the board has had an opportunity to see a number of the photographs that have been coming and going, some from residents showing the concern about some traffic on that area, as well as from the applicants who submitted some information on the traffic in that location as well. And so this application was for music in the outdoor area. However, I know that the board had some concerns about the traffic component and wanted to make sure that that was addressed as well. And if there is that kind of traffic that is being generated without the music, what if any further impact might that have? So I think I've shared everything with the board that has come in most
I did
recently.
receive something from the applicants today,
Yep.
I think we did too.
late this
The
afternoon.
board has all that.
No,
The
they,
pictures of the street where he wants to put the gravel parking.
he sent that to you via
Tony
email?
sent
Yeah.
us.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
So, yes, so all of that, I mean, if you'd like to pass that out, Jim.
Yeah.
I forwarded it to the board electronically.
Oh, that's great.
But Kyle and Bradley submitted, again, photographs showing no parking on the road, both sides. They showed an additional gravel area that, excuse me, that has been installed. And I believe, not looking at this letter here, but I'm making the assumption they essentially just, scanned and they did.
This is what I'm looking
So
at.
it's the same letter that
This is what was emailed
that
to
I
us?
Yeah, I wasn't aware that you
forwarded
received
over to you.
electronically. Now, I
So-
just want to bring to your attention a couple of things. Again, I did go back and watch that public hearing, and I did send you all a copy of the resolution of approval earlier this week, identifying the fact that, the comment that Kyle made was the fact that he was under the impression that he was allowed to park on one side of Wilbur Tract Road. And if you read that resolution, condition number 8, it was that you're not allowed to have any parking on any other properties other than your own, certainly not in the Wilbur Tract Road area.
Right.
And that they would be looking to try to obtain additional parking either from delay or for just general
Right.
parking on somebody's property with permission.
So where they want to do the gravel parking,
They don't own that land.
is that Dr.
It's
Howard's?
Dr. Howard's property.
Okay, so they can't, they might say they're gonna do it,
And I've
they
already,
can't do it.
Kyle was in this afternoon, I felt bad for him, he's working a double shift, so he's probably in bed right now, but I explained to him that he was on private
I
property.
think his mom is here.
mom is here.
So, yeah, his mom is here.
Not
So-
representing them, yep.
Yeah, so,
So the problem is that, they cannot just go in on private property and do what they've
Even though
done
it sounds like a
without.
good idea, you can't do it.
And even, I mean, I
Permission.
commend them for trying to make an effort to mitigate, but the other issue is,
Right.
I'm not sure that's enough to do to get to where they need to be for
So
some of
you
the
want a
events they've
parking
had.
lot, you think, instead of?
So-
Well, they have attempted to try and get parking, additional parking from the adjacent property owner.
Right.
They've also tried to get it from the Agway site. They've not expressed any interest in providing them that parking at this time. So there are not many options left to them at this point in time.
Yeah.
Now, I know that the signs, we had talked about installing signs, and they've already gone ahead and done that. And is that with, I assume, the permission of the Wilbur Track folks?
No, although he did talk to, I think, Larry Say?
Larry
Sy,
said.
who basically said he liked the idea of them doing that. But the problem is it says no parking this side, which indicates or intimates that you could park on the other side, which you cannot do.
So I
Yeah.
think maybe we've got a few different issues here. Maybe one of the issues is we need to go back to the original resolution and readdress that as far as what it stipulates. First of all, the gravel's on private property. And there may be a gentleman's agreement, there may not be. The signs are up on private property. There may be a gentleman's agreement, there may not be, but
Right.
there's a lot here that I don't think is documented the way that we would want it documented. So I think that's an issue. The second issue is, even if we can find a way, or if all parties can find a way to kind of move past the location of some additional parking, I think I'm not satisfied right now, based on the pictures that I've seen submitted, that the parking is under control for this area, with or without any music. So now that we're heading into the fall, it may make sense to, maybe address this in the spring when the outdoor deck would be used, maybe over the winter time, take some time, let the brewery determine how it's going to mitigate its problem with the parking.
That's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have, and I can sympathize that their business is doing so well, but at the same time, it's a very challenging spot geographically, and there needs to be some form of assurances to the residents who live up the road that they aren't going to have cars on their property, for starters, and second of all, block the street that's theirs to their property. So I would suggest that maybe as far as the application for the music is concerned, we hold off on that until we can find a resolution to the parking.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would be my suggestion.
So I just wanted to just make sure everybody, there are two photos in that package. So if you see there are in fact no parking signs on both sides.
Oh, are there?
So if you take a look, here is the fill area if you're going in. So if you're coming out of Wilbur Track, they have the signs. And then going in from where they actually put in stone. So going in, they have signs. So they do have.
Parking past this point.
Right. No, I understand.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that they've indicated coming in and going out of no parking at that location. So the stone area that is here, when you were talking with Kyle, is that something that was done since the hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so that was done with the hearing, and some or all of it is on the Howitt.
All of it.
Is on the Howitt
You
property.
know, when we did the whole thing back in the day, the Four Corners for Matthews, and we had them, they had to go out and talk to Canandaigua Bank, they had to go talk to.
Well, in fairness to them, they have done that. The
No,
problem
but I
is
mean,
just not getting
they got agreements from,
And the
if you
brother,
get,
the
if you got an
Kyle,
agreement
they can't get an agreement.
from Howlett.
No.
Well, have they spoken to Howitt?
Yes. They've actually offered to buy his property and he won't sell it.
So how did the gravel end up on his property then? I mean, is he aware of that?
He's not aware of it to my knowledge, no.
Okay, well, let's.
Kyle is going to contact him though. I gave him his number this morning, or this afternoon, and he is going to contact him tomorrow.
Then I may suggest we table this indefinitely until the applicant can work out some issues with surrounding property owners as far as parking is concerned, and maybe come back when they believe that there is a realistic parking solution that all parties have assigned to and agreed to, as far as, I mean,
Right.
not gentlemen's agreements. So, and I certainly don't like the idea of dropping gravel since the public hearing on private property. So that's my suggestion.
Now, he also indicated to me, and I don't know if it's in your letter or not, because I haven't had a chance to see this letter, but he indicated the fire marshal, and he came into my office today, the fire marshal had an application for 2 events that they want to have similar to what they did on the 19th. One is the exact operation of the 19th of August. The other one is a private party. I don't know if it's a birthday party or whatever it is. Birthday party to me would indicate that it's going to be more of a confined operation than certainly what happened on the 19th of August. So I guess my question to you is, how comfortable are you
No.
as a group to allow, I can certainly understand not doing what they did on the 19th of August. How comfortable are you with a private party?
I'm not comfortable right now based on what I know of this. Our resolution is pretty clear about parking. And it is clear that the cars are not being contained to the site.
Right.
So as far as the liability is concerned, they have to get the parking in order. If they can assure that all the cars are going to be on site, then they can have their private property or their private party. I don't know if they can do that, and I certainly don't like the idea of something similar to what we've seen pictures of.
Agreed.
So,
When is the private party?
What is, the acoustic jam is
If you,
this?
if you would please come to the table. Thank you very much. Thank you. We tape these, and so we need to make sure that we're getting everything on the record. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the acoustic jam is this Sunday. Sunday is not a real busy day, and what it is we have a couple of people who use acoustic guitars, and they come out and they sing in the beer garden, and we have some families that come out and like to sit with their families and enjoy the music. So that's what is this coming Sunday. We've had it one other Sunday so far that we got the conditional permit to do it with. So we did it one other one, and then the other one is a person who came in and requested to use our beer garden to have a birthday party, and that is next Wednesday to have their party, and they wanted to have, I believe it's some sort of relation of theirs that has a couple-piece band that wanted to play in the beer garden for their birthday party. They were talking about 7 to 9 at night.
And what's the other one, the Sunday you're going to have with that?
This coming Sunday would be the acoustic jam.
What time
and
is that?
Pardon me?
What time would that be?
4 to 7. And the party is the following Wednesday, so a week from today, from 7 to
19.
9.
Do you have any idea how many people are expected to be at that birthday party?
Birthday party, as far as I knew, from what they had told us, anywhere from 50 to 70 people is what she had said. Whether or not that meant, that's how many she's inviting. I don't
So
know how many
the
would actually
establishment would be closed for that private function?
No, we wouldn't.
So that's 50, 70 in addition to whoever.
Mhm. And Wednesdays, Thursdays are our slower days. Mhm.
See, I think the theme here is, and I appreciate you coming, is with all good intention, it seems like Kyle and Brad are trying to fix things, but without the proper guidance or permission, in terms of the parking and setting events before being given authorization to do so, puts us in a really difficult position.
Well, considering we heard from at least 4 or 5 neighbors, a couple of them indicating that they had concerns with hearing the music on the 19th of August, and then some indicating that they don't want to go back to a day where we had problems specifically at the HMS Bounty well before the brewery was put in place. But it was a time that we had a lot of problems and a lot of violations. So we've got a lot of people keeping a close eye on things overall, and and I think as Councilwoman Metzler has indicated, you know, this board, you know, we have to act on the application, but even before we're acting on the application, you know, we're scheduling events that we're kind of getting ahead of our blockers on, and that has a recipe for disaster for all of us, for you as a business, for the town board, and for the neighbors. And nobody wins on that, and it develops a lot of very hard feelings across the board. And we want to make sure all of our businesses are as successful as possible, but done in a way that we're not having a lot of issues and problems with neighbors and neighborhoods and things like that. So, that being said,
Yeah, I'm comfortable, I have been comfortable going forward with the live music portion, but the parking is kind of hard to separate from that as well. I was okay with granting the live music.
In regards to the parking, part of that gravel was put down prior to the hearing. We had addressed that back about a month or two ago. And in putting it down, it is more of, I know on that road, when you have the entrance, the potholes that are in that road are extreme. We're talking 6 inches deep at least, and they were all over the place. So people pulling in and out would have been very dangerous, trying to get out into traffic, you know, or coming quickly off traffic. So that is why K2 went ahead and spent their own money, because we could not get any response from the owner of the road. We spent our own money and we paved the beginning part of the road and made the improvement so that it was safe for everybody.
And but my concern is what made them think they could do that?
It is an improvement on the road. It wasn't, we didn't take.
But they don't own it. It's like going on someone's driveway and paving it for them.
It's privately owned.
Private property.
It's
That's
basically trespassing.
that's concerning, because we're going to hear from the owner.
For an improvement on the road.
Yeah.
Okay?
well,
He may not consider that to be an
You
improvement.
may not have wanted it to happen.
You should have asked the owner before you
Yeah,
did.
that's very
I
concerning.
think that's the bigger message. I would say that there's probably not going to be too many people running down to your establishment to say, dig out that pothole because I love running over it. So my guess is that you're not going to have that. However, you know, being the fact that it is private property, and that raises the concern that, as Councilwoman Metzler said, you just can't, just because I don't like the color of the shutter on my neighbors, I can't run over there and paint it because it is private property and what have you. So.
Yeah, prior to that, I mean, I was willing to go forward with the live music. When was the Penfield football event set?
That's coming up next month.
Okay. And do you know how that's being advertised?
We're not advertising it, as far as I know.
I got an invite for it, for live music.
It's, live music would be inside.
Okay. All right, just so
Yeah,
that's
it's not
clear.
it's not outdoor music. We
It says in the
have,
beer garden, but I'll take your word for it that,
it wasn't a notice from K2, so I'm sorry for any miscommunication of information. Any music we have is indoors, and we have it every Saturday night. We've had it every Saturday night since we opened.
Yeah, that's true.
okay. And you might want to communicate that to Penfield football, because.
I will make sure that they do that.
Make that clear. Because again, we don't want something advertised that hasn't
Absolutely.
been granted permission. But I think as Tony has said, the bigger issue is you can't resort to self-help on other people's property for the benefit of your business or your establishment. And, you know, it's hard for us to smooth that over. That's going to be up to Kyle and Brad to smooth that over.
Mhm.
And that's a trespass.
Is the jam session that is being proposed for Sunday night, is that inside or outside?
That would have been proposed for outside, but I'm sure that they will move it inside if you do not give us approval.
Is it acoustical?
Yes.
Is the other birthday party acoustical?
That I can't tell you, the person, so I can understand you not wanting to approve the birthday party. I cannot take responsibility for the band because I do not even know for sure the name of the band.
You know, I would actually, I can propose something, and it's kind of along the lines of be careful what you ask for. I would propose, I would be okay with granting the 2 events as they wish, but parking's not contained. The request for live music might go off the table for good.
That's fair.
Well, we don't know what
No, because.
party though. It has to be
is fair.
acoustic.
It is fair, because.
No, but it has to be acoustic for the.
Well, that's a given. I mean,
Yes.
that's just a given. And Kyle did indicate to me today that the birthday celebration would be acoustic as well.
Okay.
But the other issue is they should have somebody out there and directing
Because
traffic.
I don't want
If you
people
can't
who
park there,
have,
you gotta go somewhere
you
else.
know, the innocent folks who have reserved this with them, it's not their fault that Kyle and Brad screwed up. It's not, you know, if I'm gonna, I reserved the birthday party, I feel bad for the people who are reserving things here, and they're doing so in good faith, and they're not being told that we're not approved for this yet, but, you know, that's not good business either. So I think I would propose that as a trial, you know, if two events, a few hours apiece.
And your proposal is self-contained parking?
At all times.
Okay.
Yeah, see if it even could be done. It may not be possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally fine with self-contained
I
parking.
mean, I don't know, if
With the
you may not want to
permits.
agree to it on behalf of your sons. I mean, I would put the proposal out there. I don't want to put it on them that they may not agree with that, and that's okay.
Mr. Costello gave Kyle the phone number for the gentleman who owns the property, and he said as long as we get a written agreement from the gentleman, it would be fine to use the parking that is along the side of the road there, because we did place the no parking signs on the other ends of it. So that is going to be our next step, is
So
to
it would be a
try
condition.
again to...
But that would require town board approval, since our resolution,
It really only,
Well,
it
it's
doesn't
no
give you that
permit.
much I mean, I commend them for trying to solve the problem. I
Yeah,
get that.
I do
but
too.
It doesn't
It's not-
really
it's
give you
not
that
enough.
much parking, more parking than you have right now.
It's half again as much, it's 25 spaces.
It's that many. I'll go down tomorrow. and
Remember,
take a
they're
look.
parking at side, they're not parking at,
Yeah, Kyle came in today at
Parallel.
4 o'clock and I was running
Yeah,
my
I mean, I
information.
feel-
I'll go
I
down
feel bad.
tomorrow, take a look at it and get a better estimate and get it back to you.
yes, but which owner? The owners of the road who said they can park on the road, or the
Yes.
gentleman? Okay,
No,
but,
it's Dr. Howitt who owns that property that they encroached upon.
okay.
Well, because there's two different
And
sets of
I
owners.
suspect I'll probably
Well,
have to
wait a
talk
minute,
to
are there
Dr.
two
Howitt.
separate sets of owners?
Well,
No.
You want to park at?
well,
or who- where
you
do
have,
park?
Wilbur Shack Road is a private road that is owned by whom?
Dr. Howitt.
So Dr. Howitt owns that, and today, the 4 units in the back, the 2 sides, Henry Schneff, and I should know the 4th person.
Say,
That Larry, and then Carol, and Schneff, and then and the other person. They have an easement, an access easement over that property to come and go from that property, and I believe.
And at some point up the road, they probably take ownership of.
Well, and what happens is that when it cuts over, kind of to the, what I'll call to the,
Northwest.
East, if you will, southeast, as you go over there, then the property, it becomes theirs over there. That whole Wilbur Shack Road, or that piece, is Dr. Howitt's.
Okay, so if Dr. Howitt, as the private property owner, gives permission for them to have their overflow parking there,
right.
who are we to have
No, I agree.
jurisdiction to disagree with
I think
that?
I'll let Kyle talk to Dr. Howitt, but I'll probably call Dr. Howitt as well, just to make sure he's.
Because I'm fine with that, given that those folks at the end of the road there have nearly an easement. Then the key then is Dr. Howitt giving written permission. Because then, Dr. Howitt owns that property, he's liable if something happens.
And I still think we are too, because of our resolution. Based
Well, I'm not
on
as
what's
concerned-
currently
I'm not concerned
happening?
about that.
No? Okay.
Well, the resolution
Well, I would like-
basically said they have to work to find additional parking.
Right.
Through a permission process, so you're right on target. So he's trying to do that, and if Dr. Howard is agreeable to that, and they're not impacting the access flow, traffic flow of Wilbur Tract Road, it's something we can live with.
I don't want to foreclose events if we
No.
can avoid it.
So what would you like to move? That we give permission with the stipulation that they must have.
With the
written
stipulation that
agreement?
any parking off-site would be per written consent of the private property owner. And that is on file with the town, that his permission has been granted.
And the comment you made earlier is well taken, that Kyle and Brett are gonna have to be out there to make sure they're not
Yes.
just obstructing the flow of traffic.
For these two
They've gotta
events.
be there.
For just these two
Okay,
events.
we're not talking about
And we're tabling this.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
We're gonna-
So
we're
there's
gonna-
two motions we're gonna look at.
Right, right.
Well, it can be one motion.
One motion, two
Yeah, to hold this, to allow these two events to go as scheduled on the 16th and the 19th. They need to receive approval, written approval from Howitt to be able to use his land for parking. And then we'll see how that parking between their property and the Howitt piece, can they manage that and not continue to have problems where the Wilbur Tract Road becomes a road that you can't get emergency vehicles down for the 4 people that are back there and live there. And then the board at the next work session come back and do a debrief as to how these events did or did not go. And that may have a longer term impact on the broader request for the live music outdoors in the beer garden.
When do you plan on closing the beer garden for the season?
I'm assuming as snow falls, as the temperature gets a little bit colder, so we've had fewer and fewer, we've had a few nice nights, so as there's a few nice nights, they'll still keep it open, but after that,
Are they gas fire pits?
yes, they are.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, the hardy folks, but it dwindles. Okay, so you're making a motion, allow them to continue with these two events, provided they're able to work out the parking piece. We'll monitor how that goes for those two events. And then we'll bring the broader live music from a longer term standpoint back for discussion at the next work session on the 26th.
And I think it's a compromise. I think it's kind of the best thing we can do.
I'll
given
second that.
Circumstances.
So it's been moved and seconded. So it sounds like on your end, a call to the property owner. Jim, you're going to go down and take a look at that area and follow up with that, for just these two events.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna say, until this is ironed out, I would strongly encourage Brad and Kyle not to schedule anything else until this gets resolved, because if we continue down a path of just, we'll schedule this, and then
Right.
we'll schedule that, and what have you, the end result might not be where they really would want to find
As far as
themselves.
outside.
Because this board could revoke their permit for operation. And if we do that, then you've got another whole issue with the ABC board and everything like that. And that's not a piece that
Absolutely.
you don't want to go down, we don't want to go down. And again, we need to make sure that we're working to have a successful business, keep our neighbors and everyone happy and safe, not only at the top with the music, at the bottom with the appropriate access, and so that we make this a win-win-win situation overall.
And continue to look for surrounding parking on a more permanent basis.
And no.
Whether it's the Agway or with Dr. Howitt,
Sure.
somehow on his property or the Agway property, continue to try to find a permanent solution. Because we all want the business to be successful.
Sure.
but the parking, you know.
And to follow up on
It's
Tony's
causing
comment,
issues.
they will have expired their ability to have outdoor events for music for the rest of the year, because this will be the third one they've had, so.
And if you just want to confirm about that football event, that everything, the music's going to be inside, just so that, the Penfield football event.
We have already confirmed with anybody that we have scheduled for live music, they do all realize that the music will be inside.
Okay.
So
I'll probably be there, so.
it definitely is everything, we've already notified all musicians that, you know, at this point, you know, they had been told that, you know, we were hoping to maybe get approval, and they've already been told that, you know, to plan on playing inside,
Yeah, okay.
so.
Okay. All right, so that is the proposal that's on the table, moved by Paul, seconded by Linda. Further discussions? Okay, seeing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, good luck on the 16th and the 19th, and I would encourage Kyle and Brad to stay connected with Mr. Costello on the discussion with Dr. Howard.
Thank you, we look
Great.
forward to seeing you tomorrow.
All right, thank you. This will bring us to item F, the YMCA roadway dedication update. Mr. Costello.
Thank you. Mark Valentine noted to me prior to his leaving that he had discussions with Home Leasing. They would like to, at this time, rescind their request to you to allow for a dedication of the road at the YMCA. They are going to stay with a private drive at this point in time. Any new roads they build, particularly the spine road to the back, they will build the town specifications, even though I expect it will still stay a private drive for the time being. And as time goes on and development occurs, they may come back at some point to ask for dedication. We will have all the records of that road construction to ensure that it was done properly. At whatever point, if they ever come back, you'll have that data, and then you can make a decision as to which way you want to go on it. But for the time being, this is going to be a private drive.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll show this as withdrawn, and we'll take this, there's really no voting matter for this. They've requested it to be withdrawn. We accept that.
We'll send a letter
And,
back to them indicating that the board has heard their
Yep,
request.
and just close that loop back. Okay. All right, that brings us to the end of the agenda. So the September 12th, 2018 work session stands adjourned at 8:37 p.m. Thank you to everyone that participated. Thank you to Penfield TV.